Sveiki, mani sauc Tīna Graudina, un jūs klausāties Parīzes Olimpisko spēļu epizode Virālajā Volejbola podkāstā. Un šeit ir jūsu vadītājs Rob on the mic. Hi, I'm Tīna Graudina from Latvia and from USC, and you're watching or listening to the Paris Olympics episode on the Viral Volleyball Podcast. Here's your host, Rob on the mic.
Hey, good day, everyone, and welcome to a Paris Olympics episode of the Viral Volley Podcast. And actually, I double it up as College Volleyball Weekly, and this one would be a Beach Top 20 featuring former USC four-time All-American and Pair of the Year, Tīna Graudina of Latvia. Tīna, I'd say good morning, but it's good evening for you.
Good evening, good morning, everywhere around the world, wherever you're listening. Hello.
We're taking the time, and obviously Tina's in Riga, Latvia, but have a funny story for you at College Volleyball Weekly. Oh, you have a correction on the hometown now?
Jūrmala. My hometown is Jūrmala, and it's important for them because they're very proud of me, so I'm from Jūrmala.
Jūrmala is the hometown of Tīna Graudina. Take note of that, and the people at Beach Volleyball Info Database, update that because that's where I got it from. So Jūrmala, say that.
Jūrmala, yes.
I wanted to share a story with you because it's interesting because how I met you was in Manhattan Beach at the Manhattan Beach Pier your freshman year as this young beach volleyball player from Latvia. I'm curious, like, wow, great player, foreign player, and excellent English, and just extremely friendly. And that's how we connected. But it's funny because I feel like I've gone full circles again with another player who spoke so highly of you, and I interviewed her this year, Angelina Khamil of Ukraine. Her description of you, Tīna, is such a very sweet person.
So nice. I can say absolutely the same to her. I don't know when exactly you interviewed her, but I spoke with her 2 weeks ago and I met her in person and we spoke a lot more and got to know each other. And she's so nice. And I think she really has a bright future in volleyball as well because she plays so well. So nice to hear that she also likes me.
Well, funny enough, she's actually driving home from that tournament that you'd played against her at.
Oh,
I'm trying to remember off the top
okay.
of my head which one that was because I happened to message her, and then I said, "Gosh, you remind me a lot of Tīna Graudina." She's like, "I just spoke to her."
Okay, yes, makes sense.
Well, let's get on with our Paris Olympics episode because that's coming up here in a few weeks. But I wanted to get back to the roots of how you started playing volleyball, and at what point did you decide to start competing at the highest level and eventually make the Olympics?
Yeah, so volleyball was always my family sport. My dad was a big volleyball fan, played himself. So he was the one who taught me at a very early age. But I started practicing in beach volleyball twice a week when I was 13 or 14, I think. 13. And that was when they built the first indoor hall in Latvia so that I can practice during winter because it's cold here during winters. And I did that parallelly while doing track and field. So I would do twice a week beach volleyball, 3 times a week track and field. And I would do that until I was 17 years old. And what happened at 17 was, and 16 actually, was that I got the bronze medal in world championships in beach volleyball at 16, and then also at 17 I won the European champs under 18. And these two results kind of showed me that I have a lot more potential of going very high up in beach volleyball, and not so much in track and field because I have so much respect for those athletes over there. That sport is insane. Like the levels are insane. So even though I was good at a national level or maybe a little bit internationally, I was nowhere near the same level where I was in beach volleyball. So that made me choose beach volleyball and also pursue it more seriously.
Well, it's amazing with the power of social media because that's actually how I discovered you was on social media feeds of winning all these European championships, and like, oh, she's heading to USC. Um,
Ooh, interesting, because I actually thought that when I went to United States that nobody knew about me at all. That's what I thought, and it probably was true because people in the United States don't really follow that much the international tournaments, I think.
well, I think being on the inside or hearing coaches chatter, they mention names and the people with the big ears hear and start looking online for those names to see who the future talent's going to be.
Yeah, it probably now is more and more, definitely. Yeah.
Well, I'm curious, being as great of a player as you've developed into, I know you're very humble and it's like you definitely give credit to your team, but your skills definitely stuck out a lot even as a freshman. But who were some of the players that you looked up to and inspired your play?
Um, so I don't ha really have my like athlete heroes who I idolize so much because nobody is perfect, and I rather really like to look at individual things in each of the players. Like I really like how Kelly Chang like pulls so well and like does all the tricks. I really like how Sarah Hughes just like pursues the balls and is so like passionate on the court. So going into USC and like seeing them two graduate and knowing that that's the one who that those are the people who I need to replace as a
Mhm.
freshman, I felt inspired by them, but also very, very motivated to step up and be the replacement that they needed. So I think my inspiration is just to always try to be as good as I can because I want to win. I want to be the best on the court. And that internal motivation is what drives me forward.
Yeah. Wow. Now, I'm curious because you've been with Anastasia, your partner, and I may butcher this, Kravchenica, and then got married,
Yes.
Samanova. Did I say those correctly?
Yes. Yes. Yeah, for English, yeah, it's fine. I mean, I don't ex it's not really realistic to expect every culture to pronounce certain words exactly the way a Latvian would pronounce, so I'm fine with that.
Now, how did you cross paths? Obviously, I mean, you and I have joked like, oh, Latvia is just a small country, but for a small country, they got a lot of volleyball talent.
Yes, that's true. And me and Anastasia met for the first time when we were 14, 15. We were opponents on the indoor games, the few ones that I did play. And then eventually around 15, I think, or 14. We went to a summer beach volleyball camp where the best girls from Latvia were together training during that summer, and we were placed together as the two best players. And we played, I think, two or three tournaments in our first summer together, but then I went on to have three different partners after Anastasia as well. Um, and I played with them periodically throughout the next 2 or 3 years. And then me and Anastasia got together permanently in after we got the gold medal in under 22, which was in 2017. Yes. And since then, since 2017, we've been uninterruptedly together. And that's like 7 years going into 8 years. Feels very long, but we've known each other even longer than that.
So that's a great length of time to know each other. Well, start off as opponents, of course, but um, I'm curious as the indoor side of me wants to ask, that I'm sure our listeners are like, what position did you play indoor? Did they stick you in the middle
I
because you're
played
tall?
Yeah, that's exactly what the coaches did. They were like, "Oh, Tina's a good blocker." So I was a middle, and I played indoors still at the time when I went still at such a young age when the setters set a lot to the middle, which I really
Mhm.
like because I could hit the most balls. But then as the level got higher and higher, more and more sets are going to the opposite hitter, or I don't know how you call it, and
Yeah.
less to the middles, and the middles get switched out at behind the lines. And I always was so upset about it. I was like, I have better reception than most of our other liberos sometimes. And I think that's one of the things which bothered me. Maybe if I had played in the a different position in indoor, I would have liked that more, and that would have maybe kept me more in that sport. But being a middle, I wanted to play more, so I went to beach. Well, it wasn't a choice. I already was in the beach. I was playing indoor just a little bit on the side.
Well, for the record, we like you on the beach. So I just
Yes. Not a bad decision. I agree. I like it.
I'm sure you'd have been a kicking outside hitter that could pass the ball and play some defense. So, with the skills that you're showing on the
Thank you.
beach, it just shows that you're very athletic and it showed early on in your career, even from an NCAA career perspective. So, um,
Yeah, and
let's
the
go to our,
track and field helped.
oh, yes, of course. So you're doing both sports. Now, at any point in time, were you doing all three at the same time? Track and field,
Yeah,
beach, and indoor?
Yeah, there was one crazy summer. I remember I just turned 18 and I was on this just one tournament like indoor national team. So we were playing the qualification for European champs, I think. And at that time, I was also preparing for the summer beach volleyball and still doing track and field whenever I could. And I was doing my driver's license. And I remember that clearly because of the driver's license, because I was so stressed about it. And I passed my driver's license, which made the whole combination of those three sports much easier because I could actually drive myself to all those places. But that was the last time I did it because it was way too much. And I also twisted my ankle a little bit when I landed in the block in indoor, because I was like still kind of
Mm.
flying a little bit uncontrollably there. And at that moment, I remember thinking like, nah, like this is not worth it. This is not worth
Yeah.
to like potentially get a small thing in my ankle which could bother me for a much, much longer time just to play this one tournament in indoor. And so after that, I haven't played.
Yeah. Well, let's jump to your USC career. How did attending university in the USA to play beach volleyball enter your journey? Was it through Anna, Dane, Gustavo? I mean, how was that connection made?
Anna Collier, that's all her. This is like her fingerprints all over me because she's the one who spotted me in the under 17 World Championships. She's the one who called me when the correct date came around and she could contact me. And it was a random fall evening, I think. And she like have this get this call from the United States. I'm like, well, I guess I'll pick it up. And she's like, hi Tina, like, would you want to come to study to the United States? And I'm like, whoa, whoa, whoa. That's when I first realized of all the opportunities that I could possibly take. And yeah, so Anna, I trained with, she was my coach for 2 years, and then I had 2 years with Dane, Gustavo being or my assistant coach the whole time. And now I think the more time has passed since my graduation, I just appreciate even more and more of like how good of a decision it was for me to go to United States and specifically USC. And there's just so many details I could like write a book, but yeah, very grateful.
Well, I mean, you coming into the program was pretty amazing because there weren't too many international players at the time that you were in, but it definitely opened a lot of people's eyes to the talent all across Europe.
Yeah, and it also definitely opened eyes for people in Europe about the possibilities of United States because I was an example of somebody who was still playing at a high level in FIVB while parallelly still studying at the United States. So I got a lot of questions about I got a lot of I needed to change a lot of stereotypes about, oh, college in the United States is actually like it sucks, it's nothing good there. But I think people seeing that I was playing there and I was struggling sometimes and like really had to give my all to like achieve the results that we did, kind of showed them that the level in the United States is actually much, much higher than Europeans might have thought initially. I'm not saying that it's all me, definitely not. But like in the beach volleyball community, like I was a good example for that.
Well, any college athlete, if any of you are wondering what their schedule's like, it's a very rigorous schedule. And I imagine USC's actually raised the bar because there's weight training, nutrition, then there's the actual practice, and there's study hall, then you have your classes, and then of course, you have study groups. So it's I mean, it's a very full schedule.
Yeah. I actually before, so when I finished high school, I wasn't so certain that I want to do professional sports because I always really valued education. That's why I also went to USC. And I was thinking, yes, sport is cool. Maybe it's just a vehicle for me to like get where I want to be eventually in life with education. But funnily enough, even though the NCAA is an amateur sports league, that becoming my first year at USC, I felt the most professional I had ever felt, even though before that in Latvia, I was kind of unrestrictedly playing professionally. But specifically starting in NCAA made me feel this like taste of what it means to be truly an elite level athlete and what it
Mhm.
takes to get there and what type of work you need to put in there because and the whole system, the support system, coaches, schedule, as you say. So it was a little bit ironic that the place that's supposed to be amateur and that was very strictly following me, that I make sure to submit all my expenses and manage my like income, everything, prize money, so that I remain amateur, actually is pushing me so much towards the professional sports.
Yeah. Well, it's a great experience, and we're gonna jump into your first year here, but and so you were 18, 19 when you first got into USC, is that right?
Yeah, I was 19 already, so that's 1 year older than usually United States people are, but that's because in
Mhm.
Latvia we just start school 1 year later. We start
Right.
first grade at 7 years old. So I wasn't like late or anything. I was normal. Just we Latvians finish school later.
Well, I've broken down your career at USC in two parts here, your freshman and sophomore years. So you received like numerous Pac-12 conference and publication and ABC honors uh, your first 2 years. In addition, you got back-to-back ABCA Pair of the Year with Abril Bustamante, and then, um, of course, highly competitive team, USC runner-up those 2 years, the years of the McNamara twins, I believe,
Yeah,
at
playing
UCLA.
against UCLA. Yeah.
But did you expect to have that much success early on as a freshman and a sophomore at USC, individually and as a team?
Um, No, I didn't expect success. I didn't expect anything, but I remember having a really strong drive of wanting to show how good I am and wanting to, because I had felt the taste of success back home in Latvia with the European champ medals and everything. So I felt a really strong motivation to show everyone in the United States as well that um, I'm capable of this. So I wasn't surprised when me and Abril played so well, because Abril also was such an amazing person for me to have as a freshman, as a partner. Her, like, she was such a strong person emotionally on the court, tactically, physically, that she helped me become the best version of myself that I could be as well at that time. And that's why I completely embraced the fact that me and Abril are one of the favorites and one of the best pairs at NCAA at that time, and I was ready for that already mentally. I was like, that was my goal to become so good at that time. But did I expect it? No, I would have been fine also if we weren't, but I would still have given my 100% either way.
Of course, as an outsider and seeing Abril as a high school indoor player and seeing how fiery she was, I'm sure that you are more just kind of learning from her those first 2 years.
Oh my gosh, I definitely had to be like, whoa, like who am I partnering with? I'm so glad I didn't have to play against her. I would have been like trembling on the other side of the net.
Let's jump over to your junior and senior years. You continued with the Pac-12 success with the individual and team awards and ABC All-America honors again, but is after redshirting in 2020 because of the Olympics, which we'll talk about later. But you continue to experience success with multiple partners: Sammy Slater, Haley Harward, and Megan Kraft. Um, what do you attribute the success of you being able to play with so many different athletes and still continue winning to?
I think I absolutely attribute it to the coaching staff and the system of USC, of the way we practice every day, because we train. I think coaches they know what they're doing. They're very smart, and the way how the exercises they set up for us and the system of how they ask us to play helps us transition easily between partners, because that happens a lot in NCAA and you need it. So it wasn't as hard as in the FIVB, for example, but also because all three of them are such amazing individuals. Like they are so open-minded, and they are giving their 100% no matter what they do. And that's the biggest requirement for me as a volleyball player, is that I don't need my partner to be the best player in the world. All I need is for them to give their 100%, because that's what I respect the most, and that's what uh I also become better if I see that my partner is playing as hard as they can. So they were everything I could have wished for in partners, and that's why I think it was easy to play with them, because we were also all friends outside of the court. So no like clashing personalities, and it was very easy. We all have the same goal.
Well, they definitely are, all amazing people. Obviously seeing
Yeah.
your teammates in the years that you were at USC and then even knowing them before they went to USC, just incredible people. And that's, Sammy Slater, Haley Hartward, and Megan Kraft.
Sammy actually just visited me here in Latvia. She was here 2 days ago. So I'm
I
so happy
saw
that I have
that on your
friends.
social. You
Yeah,
started
we're
up some
friends.
kind of zip line or something, and tried to kill her, didn't you?
Yeah, I was like, you've come to Latvia, boom, like get up on the tree, you'll do this like hard obstacle course.
Well, it's great to maintain those connections for sure. I'll have to say one of my favorite moments seeing you play was when you were actually playing defender behind Megan and seeing you
Don't even
getting dirty
start
on
with that.
defense.
I love that so much. It gave me so much pure joy to play defense. I felt like it's volleyball is a completely different sport when I play defense versus what I've been used to in block. Because it is in block, my range of motion is maximum like 2 meters, metric system here. Like it's like I feel like I'm in a box a little bit, except a couple of times when I need to run to set the ball for the defender. But when I played defense, I felt so free. I felt like I had the whole court to play my mind games, to play, show my physicality, to run, and it gave me so much joy. So I am looking forward whenever I can to play some defense, and I think I'm going to use as many opportunities as I can in AVPs and King of the Courts to try to get in as many touches as I can as a defender because for me, I'm always trying to evaluate, okay, so what is more important for me? The result, which probably will be better if I play as a blocker, or the joy and the happiness that I get from playing defense, which was so big for me that I think in the future tournaments I will probably go for the defense happiness that I get, the high from like running after all those balls whenever I can.
Oh, that's so sweet to see you just your countenance light up because you want to play defense. I don't think you see that in too many people.
It's so you're the mastermind as a defender. You like you can use your blocker as whatever you want. Me as a blocker, I'm like disciplined. I do what I'm told. I do what I'm gonna say. But as a defender, you can double up. You can like so nice. We could. I'm still a beginner, so that's why I felt like it's a new sport because I felt wow, I'm not good at this. Like there's so much to learn still. I could suddenly see this like whole future of how much more I could like become better in this position.
Yeah. Well, I know that this may be part you may have answered this partially in the previous question, but how is it like adapting to other highly talented partners like we mentioned above?
Adapting to them in the
Like their style at like playing with them and getting that quick success, like the chemistry and
because I think that yes, beach volleyball is a team sport, but sometimes people place a little bit too much importance on the team part because it is, in my eyes, still a little bit more individual as well. Because as good as the better player you are, the more balls you'll be able to finish regardless of like how good or bad the set is or like how good or bad your timing is. So I think it's possible to definitely adjust to players better if you're also more physical, that you can like a little bit cheat on your physicality if everything else is not absolutely perfect.
yeah. Well, so after the Olympics, we're going to jump to your junior and senior seasons, but you come back to USC and your efforts assisted in garnering the first two national championships for USC after obviously the Olympics and COVID shut down. But what are your thoughts on those squads in 2021, 22, and were they different in your eyes?
Yes. When I was a freshman and sophomore or on a Collier and the older girls were telling us about how it should feel how should a winning team should feel like, how a team that will win a championship should behave, should like act on the court, feel on the court. And I was confused because I was like, what do you mean? Like I'm playing as best as I can, I can see everyone is trying the same, and yet we were not really winning. But then after we won the championship my junior year, well, see, whatever, third year, I could tell the difference between the teams, and those are the small things that are sometimes hard to put into words, but it's the attitude and the feeling of togetherness of the fact that everyone's on the same page. And we were not all on the same page in our freshman, sophomore years, but we were our junior, senior years. And I think it's depended on the personalities of the girls who were on the team. We were very, very accepting eh, of all everyone's differences. And it's almost like junior, senior years, we were almost a lot more different from each other that the difference was big enough that we could all just accept it and be like, fine, like everyone's doing their own thing, whatever they think is good for them. And it worked very well, very well. And obviously, just the talent was incredible. Megan
Yeah.
and Delaney as freshmen coming in, and Julie and Haley as transfers coming in, and me preparing for Olympics. And it's incredible. Sammy just being like always like shit. Sammy can like wouldn't train like the whole summer and come back and just win everybody. Like it's incredible. The girls were just so good.
Yeah, natural athletes with they had that sixth sense on the court, it seemed like.
Yeah.
Um, I know that since you've graduated onto and pursuing your professional career, you finish your career at USC, and I think it's funny because we were texting. I said you 122 and 9. That's a pretty good record. Like, no, it was 7. So I'm gonna go with 7 because I trust you more than the SID. Jeremy Wu at USC. So Jeremy, update that on the website. It's 122 and 7.
Yeah, because I can explain it. The reason why I clearly remember this is because I remember that my first 3 years, I always lost 2 games in the season. And in my last final year, I was so determined. I was like, that's it. I'm going to make it a 0 this year. And so me and Haley lost our first match against UCLA at the very, very beginning of the season. And I was like, ah, dang it. Like, this is kind of early to already lose our first match. Okay, it's not a 0, but I'll try to keep it at 1. And we did keep it at 1. So that's why it's like 2 times 3 is
Yep.
6. And then plus 1 is 7.
All right, there you go, Jeremy Wu at USC. Better update that on the site. But
Tag
I
him.
wanted to basically that 2-year run of national championships sparked the current 4-year run. But were you following the last 2 seasons of the Trojans?
Yeah, I was following. And the first year that I didn't play, I was almost like a little bit white jealousy. I don't know if it's an expression in English, but I was like, ah, dang it, like I'm so happy for them, but I also would have wanted to play. Like, oh, it's so cool. But this year I watched and I just had just pure happiness and proudness, and I was just really amazed at like truly that insane accomplishment of having 4 times in a row, which is I didn't think it would be possible, but they did it. And respect to those girls to deal with that pressure and that expectation. That's like the biggest battle was fought in their minds for sure, mentally
Yeah.
on the court.
Well, it was a great run for USC now, a 4-year national champion. Incredible accomplishment. Coach Dane Bland taking over, get the last 2 in a row, which is, but he was always on staff for the entire 4. So he can say 4. He can take that claim. Now, this is a question that was kind of an introspective one for you in relation to USC beach volleyball history, but you come from a program with names like Sarah Hughes and Kelly Clays Chang, but how would you describe your place in USC beach volleyball history?
Yeah, good one. I would say well, Kelly Chang and Sarah, they were more the very beginnings. They are like the founding fathers of the program and of the NCAA system in general in beach volleyball. And I would say I am more of the beginning of that, mm, like the quantity, like modern era. I don't know, it's hard,
Hmm.
but I hope that people will remember me. I'm very happy you texted me, you follow me still, and I'm happy that people in the United States, like volleyball fans, follow me on the tour as well. So I'm not sure. I feel like this question is better for outside people who are not me to say what my role exactly was for USC.
Well, it's interesting to see in my discussions and talking about volleyball around the world and at tournaments, but your name comes up as like from the girls that are inspired by you. We want to be like Tina Graudina. We want to be like Sarah Hughes. We want to be like Kelly Chang. And you've definitely got a great influence because of not only your talent on the court, but off the court, you're just very articulate and very warm to speak with.
I mean, it's part of why I like to do this job, volleyball, because that connection that I can make with fans and spectators and young girls and so young boys also, just anyone who loves volleyball, because I think that love for the sport is what really connects. And I'm very happy to hear that. That's very nice. And I can't wait to go back to LA. I haven't been back since graduation. I really want to go back and spend some time to visit everyone and like show up everywhere and yeah, be
You got
back.
really close when you were in Mexico, though.
Yeah, but still not like LA is actually so far when I think about it. It's 10-hour time difference. So long, so much.
Well, let's jump over to your Olympics now, which is the reason why I reached out to you. But um, before we go to Paris, let's talk about Tokyo. You became the first ever NCAA beach volleyball player to qualify for the Olympics, pioneering the influence of U.S. collegiate beach volleyball. What are your thoughts on an accomplishment like that? Being that collegiate beach volleyball isn't that old.
Yeah, well, I was first one who was still playing in NCAA, not the NCAA itself, but I mean, it's really cool. It's cool to have your name in something that's the first thing ever, because nobody can take that away from you ever. And also, it change the perspective of what can be achieved while you are at college as well, because definitely wasn't easy to juggle. And I think I want to say a huge thank you to Anna Collier who let me take the gap year in the first place, because that wasn't really the norm either in beach volleyball to do that. I really want to thank Dane Blanton and Gustavo Rocha, because Dane was the one who allowed me to skip a couple of those practices so that I could train with Anastasia parallelly for the Olympics, and for to Gustavo, who was our coach in Olympics. So I think NCAA fingerprint is so strong all over this accomplishment, and USC in particular. And I think it's yeah, just as much they had such a big contribution to this achievement that yeah, it belongs to them just as much, because without them it wouldn't have been possible, because the discipline and regime is quite strict. You have to be in every practice. You can't miss a single match, but you need to be a little bit lenient and let let that person who's trying to qualify for Olympics to go and like do their own thing. So I was very lucky that my coaches were supporting me in that.
Well, I think that other coaches are having to follow that same lead because we're seeing, Hector at TCU with the Spanish girls of Danny and Tanya.
I Yeah, exactly. I've been speaking to them on the tour about this, and I was like kind of surprised. When I heard that they're taking a gap year, I was like, oh no way, they're doing exactly the same thing that I did, except it works out better for them because they didn't have COVID, which like ruined everything for me in that sense. But yeah, so I guess it will become more of a norm maybe in the future.
Oh, without a doubt. Now, you had mentioned being having first. That's something that no one can ever take away from you. But you did have another first. You're the first time that a Latvian women's team had qualified for beach volleyball in the Olympics. Now, what was your reaction, response, and your emotions being able to have that accomplishment in your name?
I was so proud. Just it was a pure pure proudness, and the qualification tournament was very intense in China where we qualified, especially the final match. And that level of happiness, just joy, relief, and later on it was also proudness, was very unique. And because it's something that is the first and it cannot be repeated, I think I will also not get the same type of emotions ever again, because I can't go back in time or do something like that again. So that's why I'm very treasuring those memories and like those feelings that I felt at that moment, and they're special.
Yeah. Well, I know that the Tokyo Olympics was a bittersweet moment for you because, you and Anastasia were some of the youngest competitors at the Tokyo Olympics and just missed the podium, placing fourth. But How did you feel about your performance, especially being first timers and being as young as you guys were?
Oh, I was very happy about our performance, and even now looking back at the videos, I'm like, dang, we're playing so good. And volleyball is changing very quickly, like year by year. So it's already like a little bit different style on the women's side, like just small details that you can see with your eye, like, oh, this wouldn't have happened like today in a tournament, but it did happen in Tokyo. And I actually don't feel the bitterness anymore. I feel only the sweetness because as the time goes by, like those memories of like crying after the bronze match are fading away. I'm just more having left with that fourth place in Olympics, which is so cool. And I am always like very happy
Yeah.
to remember that.
Fourth in the world isn't a bad thing, that's for sure.
I know, I'm not complaining at all. If somebody told me that before the tournament you can take a fourth or like something else, I would be like, yes, please, 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 fourth.
Well, I think in the world I'm like 8 billion and 999.
Yeah, right, exactly. And we're like, so nice.
Um, so how did that appearance in the result in 2021 or 2020 Tokyo, the COVID messed up year thing, how did that inspire you to begin training for Paris 2024?
Well, it was just natural because that felt like the moment when my career actually is beginning because I knew I will have finished USC, so I would finally get a shot of trying professional beach volleyball full on with full attention, full focus, and to see how much of our potential me and Anastasia can realize with our full focus on only beach volleyball. And also knowing it's just 3 years. 3 years is so short that it felt like just 1 year of rest after Tokyo, and then immediately qualification for Paris started.
Well, I have to say, congratulations for qualifying for Paris. I was excited to see the official announcement. So that's
Yes.
back-to-back Olympics for you and Anastasia. Um, but how's the qualification period for Tokyo differ from the Paris qualification experience?
Feels very different. It feels like everything is different. The world is so much different. If before Tokyo we were worried about the COVID thing, now we were worried about Russia in Olympics because our country is absolutely supporting Ukraine in all ways. So we were even at one point considering boycott, and yeah,
Mm.
that was very stressful. So it feels like these uncertainties are still plaguing Olympics. But in terms of the preparation process, we also had a different coach, Damian Wojtyszek from Poland, and we're very happy with him. So just we are older, times are different, different coach, different Olympics, just everything feels different. And also, I feel like we're almost going into these Olympics with the mindset of like these will be our first ones because the Tokyo ones were just out of normal, not really
You're gonna play in
how
front of people.
Olympics should be, yeah, supposed to be. And I think I will be so nervous to play the first match in Paris because I remember how nervous I was in Tokyo in empty stands. But like having full stands in Paris, I think my hand will be trembling and I'll be like, "Ah, I hope I can serve this ball over." We'll see.
Well, it's gonna be amazing seeing you play in front of the Eiffel Tower, which I got to shout out to my friend who put that all together, Inez, who is one of the friends I'd met on the FIVB who was responsible
Wow.
for putting that effort together. So Inez,
Thank you to
don't say
her.
I didn't give you a shout out.
Wow, yes, truly. Everyone's thanking you.
Well, this last few months, you and Anastasia have been playing phenomenally well. I'm gonna pull up the results here, but I mean, it just seems like you're peaking here at the right time with only two more events. I believe you're playing in Stade and Vienna still. Is that correct?
Mhm. Yes.
Well, I mean, look at this season so far. In Doha, fourth. In Recife, Brazil, ninth. Espinho, fifth. Sergio Blanchi, second. And Ostrava, third.
In Recife, we got first place.
Oh, you know what? That's a typo on my part. My bad. Oh, you
Yes.
know what? I'm looking
Yeah.
at there's is Brasilia ninth and then Recife first.
Yeah.
So solid top 10 finishes here in the last few months. You got to like what you guys are doing, but I know it's the work isn't done, but you have to look at those results and seem pretty optimistic about where you're at.
Yeah, especially since last summer we kind of had a down period of like not really doing well. So it feels good to be back where we feel like we belong. But it's so these results are can be such an illusion as well because as you can see in the Elite 16, there's like 10 teams who can all medal and nobody would be surprised about that. And there's
Yep.
always a team from qualification who's also doing well. And it's almost like there's almost always two teams who just rotate, like go through, like it's like a big cycle of whoever like finally gets into the final four. So we're definitely not getting too excited about the bronze medal in Ostrava, which we just got, and instead more focusing on just keeping our head down and working on those like fine details that we still need to fine tune before Paris Olympics.
Well, I mean, you got Stad coming up July 3rd through 7th, and then Vienna's July 9th through 14th. And then after that, focus on the Olympics. I believe that that's going to be, when do you travel out to Paris?
22nd of July.
Wow, it's coming up fast.
I know, I saw it's like 40 days until Olympics. I was like, I feel like it's just the beginning of the summer, but so quick.
Now, obviously, take great pride in representing Latvia, but for the second time, I mean, you've got to be like a national hero at this point because I see your social, all the events you're doing, just showing up at red carpet type events. So it's got to be a great time for you in representing Latvia.
Yeah, and the media part is quite strong in the past year or 2 years, where we've been very in the eye of the sports community in Latvia, and it's like the love and support we get from Latvians is just like infinite and unconditional. And sometimes it's also hard because like you just feel like, oh geez, there's like so many people whose moods are actually ruined if we like don't play in the tournament, whose like days are sad if we like didn't make it further. And like the more you hear about these absolute fans who just worry so much and depend so much on us doing well for their day to go well, it's places a responsibility on our shoulders. But that's part of that's part of being an athlete, and as I learned in USC, pressure is privilege, and to have to be in this position itself is a privilege that I need to be more grateful about it than be complaining.
Well, you definitely have a passionate group of fans. Can hear them on the VBTV broadcast. Latvia, Latvia.
I know, yeah. Tutururu, sada.
Um, it's such a great scene though for you, and obviously you're going out to is it the CV Beach Championships that's happening in
Yeah,
your
it's
hometown?
the Continental Cup.
Okay, so I know that we're running long on time here, but I got two final questions for you. Oh no, oh you're
We
good.
can speak more, Rob. We can
Oh
chat
well,
more. There's no time restrictions with you.
oh, I so appreciate that. But one of your statements that really caught my ear was the difference in the top 10. And people can say, "Oh, volleyball is just a difference of a pair of points because that's what gets you the victory for the set." But it's gotten to a point where, yeah, it's a pair of points, but how long it takes to win by two is what I'm seeing. You're seeing extended sets, extended matches just because of the competition. I'd even go farther out to say the top 16 at this point.
Yes. Yeah, I would absolutely agree with you. And that's why the Elite 16 format is not a good format. There needs to be more space for teams to participate and show themselves. And it only shows that when elite teams go and play in challenge tournaments, they get their butts kicked oftentimes because they're just suddenly not ready for all these supposedly lower level teams coming to play them who are ready to challenge them 100%. And there's so much more space for talent at the highest level in beach volleyball. And yes, like you're saying, the games are getting longer and longer. I remember times when it was normal for the FIVB to schedule 15-minute matches, and games would sometimes get delayed, but not often. Now it's you can't imagine that in the Elite 16. Games get delayed even with 1 hour of scheduling. Partially it's
Mhm,
because people are walking around the poles now because of the old COVID thing, but it's
mhm.
also because the sets are getting so long and like the pressure intensity is so much higher, and the sport is developing more and more, and the system should reflect that, but unfortunately it's doing the opposite. It's like cutting it down and like restricting it.
Well, you've been seeing pretty consistently 28, 26 scores in sets 1 and 2, and, I mean, you're still
Yeah.
battling back and forth.
And three sets, and yeah.
So it's
And
an exciting time.
nobody's happy for a qualification team to come into their pool because they're just as strong. Like qualification teams are getting the top places in the pool, and it's yeah, so nobody can take for granted anything.
Yeah, it just speaks to the talent that's happening all over the world too. I mean, there's obviously 2 teams from each country, like Brazil, they only get their top 2, USA only gets their top 2, and even like Switzerland, Netherlands, top 2, but there's so
Germany.
much talent.
Yes, yes. And that's why I'm very happy that at least Volleyball World has gotten rid of country quota. That definitely raises the level. But yeah, for Olympics, it's sad. I think maybe it would be nice to have three teams from the country, and just raise the level for the teams who qualify through ranking in that way. Some food for thought for the future. But us players have such little contact with the FIVB that it's hard to like not even know who to talk with to like discuss some of the future possibilities about things.
Oh gosh, I thought they had a player representative. I guess, not the case, huh?
Yeah, no, maybe on paper, but not in practice.
Well, I nominate you because you have an international business or international, politics background, and I think you'd be a great diplomat
Exactly. I'll snake my way in.
as long as there's a paycheck in it, right?
No, no. I wish we could do that, but yeah, maybe.
Well, I wanted to ask you 2, like, introspective questions for our fans and viewers just because, I mean, the fact of the matter is you're very influential in the world volleyball scene, and, um, people are following you, and, Anastasia, and people know about Team Latvia because of you 2 and a few other teams that have represented beach volleyball so well, but, what would you tell your younger self, and that could be your teen or freshman self at USC, about pursuing this career in beach volleyball?
Um, Tough question, but maybe I'm not directly answering to it, but the first a quote that comes into my mind is that what I really like, and I still remind myself sometimes about it, which is that nothing in life that you do is easy. Everything is hard. Like doing professional sports is hard, but also working 9 to 5 job is hard. Like being married is hard, being single is hard, being jobless is hard, having a job is hard. Everything is hard. You just have to choose the path you want to take and choose your heart that you like the most and that you are willing to follow, and you're willing to sacrifice those small things which you need to succeed. So to That's not really something like an advice or something, but it's just a perspective on life that I think helps me, because even I sometimes have these feelings like, dang, like I'm traveling so much. I just wish I could be more like settled and be more at home. But I can't. I have to like I I think there was a period last year. No, the whole last year I wasn't in one place for more than 2 weeks. I was just always living out of my suitcase, and it was hard, and I was like, this is so hard. Maybe like having a normal life would be easier. But this quote reminds me that no, like nothing is easier. Like you just like
Yeah.
I have to like accept the fact that this is what I like the most. I want to do this, and yes, it is hard, but it's hard for everyone. And like I at the end of the day, volleyball is the best job in the world, and I want to do it. And the pleasure that I get from it is so big that it's all worth it at the end.
Excellent. And one final question for you. What encouragement do you have for those athletes competing currently at juniors or even the collegiate beach level?
I would say to really be focused on every single touch of the ball that you can get. Because right now, when I'm approaching Olympics, I feel like every touch counts. And those extra 10 serves that I do at the end of practice, they pile up. And at the end, I go into Olympics feeling more confident. So that the same goes for high school or college level. Like the more touches you get, the more you will build your confidence, which will help you play better. And it doesn't mean to work yourself to death, no, but just be very conscious of like what you're doing and like don't do something half-heartedly. Really put your mind and thoughts to it, and then you'll do great because the mental part is the biggest part that will make you succeed or not on the court. So just be very focused and intentional with all what you do.
Excellent wisdom and advice from Tina Graudina. I so appreciate your time here this morning representing Latvia for the 2024 Paris Olympics, second Olympics being that you were in Tokyo, and four-time All-American at at USC, two-time AVCA Player of the Year and Pair of the Week. But I can't even remember. There's so many of them. But Tina, always an absolute pleasure speaking with you. And I will do it anytime that you want to jump on. So
All right, I will hit you up next time and it will be soon then. Thank you for talking with me.
best of luck in the Olympics. Looking forward to excellent results for you and just phenomenal competition in beach volleyball. So coming up here in a few weeks, follow Tina and her partner Anastasia at the Paris 2024 Olympics, just 40 days away. Is that we calculated?
Something like that. Yes.
Thank you again, Tina.
Thank you. Thank you, Rob.
Thanks for listening to College Volleyball Weekly. Be sure to follow Rob Aspero at the Rob on the Mic on Instagram and at Rob on the Mic on Twitter.